And then the other big talking point in that lineup, Mohamed Salah, benched again. It's a strange night for him, wasn't it? He comes on, you can say he was so desperate to score, probably should square it a couple of times, a bit selfish again. It's that running theme of things aren't falling for him, the chances aren't going in. And then he makes headlines after the game by editing his Twitter profile, taking away any reference to Liverpool in his bio and the profile picture, the header picture. He's getting a bit of stick. Maybe some of it's justified, but when you look what he's done for Liverpool in his career, cut him some slack as well. What do you make of the whole Mohamed Salah situation at the moment, Rich?
Well, I'll start by saying I didn't know that bit about his social media bio. Is that when did he do that?
Last night after the game.
Last night after the game. Okay.
So his picture would have been from the kit launch, him in the home kit holding the Premier League trophy.
Right.
His header picture was them on the coach with the trophy. They're both gone. Doesn't have a header picture now. Now it's just him on the beach with his kids. His bio would have been footballer for Liverpool FC. That's now gone. Doesn't have a Twitter bio.
He just wanted to share a picture of him and his kids. He just wanted to.
No.
He just wanted to share a nice picture, and he chose directly after the game in Frankfurt.
When he'd come for criticism, having not squared it to Florian Wirtz and he'd been benched, 2 + 2 =
Well, let's stop sitting on the fence. I think he's thrown his toys out the pram a little bit there, hasn't he? By the looks of things.
Producer Ian is delighted now because you've given him a clip.
Yeah, look, I love Mohamed Salah, but things aren't going for him at the moment. He's been marginalised in games. I do think he's had a little bit too much criticism has come his way, as far as I'm concerned, just in terms of the balance of Liverpool hasn't been right. I think he has been marginalised a little bit by new players coming into the side. The first time I noticed this was in the Charity Shield, where I thought Liverpool were pretty good in the first half, but he had very little involvement. I just felt like maybe they just don't know the best way to utilise Liverpool's star player, and that has continued. So I feel like his nose has probably been put out a little bit by this, and then there's been that much noise around him. He's found himself on the bench. Obviously, then the end result is Liverpool have won a game 5-1, and he's played very few minutes in the game. But this is no time for strops. I don't think he could. He's probably going to play on Saturday night now that Isak appears to be injured. So you would expect him to come straight back in, but you're not exactly endearing yourself to the manager if that's the way you're acting. And don't get me wrong, we don't know what conversations he's had with the manager or whether those changes to his social media accounts is coincidental. I have a feeling they're not, though. But no player is bigger than the club. That adage is as old as time. Everyone knows this. And it's no different for one of the game's superstars. So all he needs to do, really, is knuckle down, work hard, get back on the pitch, and do the business. And then we don't have to talk about this again.
I don't think Mohamed Salah is someone who needs to be told that. It's strange that it's him who's done it. Like we saw Darwin Núñez probably do it a couple of times in his Liverpool career, and you just discard it as Núñez being petulant. He's a silly boy. Jurgen Klopp's interview with the CEO podcast this week was referencing players saying stuff on social media, and he'd have them come in and tell everyone what they'd said, and that's how he'd cover it. We don't know how Arne Slot responds to it, and obviously Salah's not said anything wrong, but it does feel a little bit different when it's your star player who's come out and made that change.
Yeah, it does. It is, and it was a bit odd, wasn't it? The whole thing's a bit odd, and I mean, on the one hand, footballers' social media accounts are often not controlled by them, and so you're left a little bit at the whim of certain people there, but we've ended up talking about him, and maybe there's something in that. He
Stolen
was
the headlines, isn't he?
Yeah, he always finds a way. He wouldn't have been happy last night. I mean, when I said before the game, I mean, there's a world where if Liverpool are doing well at the moment, a Champions League game away early in the tournament, you might leave him out. You might, if they did it at Galatasaray, obviously, it might just be a game where you save his legs and say, right, rest up for Brentford away on Saturday. But I think obviously in the context of everything that had gone before, 4 straight defeats, he's been criticised. He was criticised after Man United game where he missed that good chance. And
this is a good one at Chelsea too.
Of course, yeah. So
those results are different if he scores both those tackles.
Yeah, so I think it would have been on his mind, and I'm sure it's always on his mind to score goals. So he'd have wanted to take that opportunity last night. But then, when he came on, it was a little bit, there was that desperation, wasn't there? And the one where he should have put Wirtz in was kind of the final straw. And
I've had games with Rich at five-a-side where I've been screaming for that pass and he's got it alone.
You can't get that high up the pitch that quickly. There.
Certainly not these days. We've not had Echo footy on for at least 18 months.
He's going to be frustrated, and I think part of it is he just needs to. I think he perhaps needs to accept that he's entering this twilight of his Liverpool career, and there are so many star players around him now. Unfortunately, it's a way of life. There are people who come younger than you, better than you, fitter than you. It's happened to me. It's happened to Rich, I'm sure.
Definitely.
So it's how it is. So and I'm sure he'll be all right. And I agree. I think he'll start on Saturday. I think he will. I think partly the Isak injury, but also I think it becomes a thing if you leave him out after this. He's been left out of one game. This social media thing, it's a bit overblown, but it is what it is. But I think the way you make it into a story is if you leave him out again. And I don't think he'll do that, so I think he'll start on Saturday.
Well, he knew that was going to be a story, didn't he?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, reading...
He knows how we work, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He knows exactly how we work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
he's a chart beat king, isn't he?
He is a chart beat king, which is how we track audience volume for those who might not know. But what happens... Got into a totally different podcast there, haven't we? We can talk about KPIs, Google Analytics. That's another show that I won't be on. But one of the reasons Liverpool supporters were so desperate for Mohamed Salah to sign a new contract last season was because we didn't have anyone to replace him with. You know what I mean? There was your chief goal supplier, a man who scored countless numbers of goals for Liverpool and supplied, most goals, most assists. How do you replace that? We've signed a lot of players who have been brought in to replace that or to share that workload, and it is to replace him.
Feels like a lot of the phrases being the post-Salah world, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
and Salah's probably sitting there going, "Well, I'm still here,"
Yeah, and don't get me wrong.
Work in Liverpool's favour though, because obviously you've got AFCON coming up in December. Yeah. He's going to go away for that. It's going to be some big games. If Egypt go far, he misses Arsenal. He'll definitely miss Tottenham as well. Liverpool are going to have to find a way to play without him. But in previous seasons, he goes to AFCON, he's not the same second half of the season. We saw that last season as well. Maybe turning on its head, you're putting that fire in the belly, you're poking the bear. He comes back, he's got a point to prove, having seen Liverpool do whatever without him, whether he's got to pick them up or force his way back in the side. And then you go in for whatever the title race is like at that time, but the Champions League knockout stages. And that will be what he's got his eyes on. Maybe you are trying to provoke something from him in the second half of the season.
Yeah, and an angry Salah is often quite a good one, isn't he? And
we saw it last year with the contract, didn't we?
Yeah. And that I think last year as well, it's perhaps always worth keeping in mind because we were talking about one of, if not the greatest individual Premier League season has ever been in terms of goals, in terms of assists. It was always going to be a step down from that, no matter what he was doing. He could have sort of 4 or 5 goals more at this stage, and he still perhaps wouldn't be keeping up with what he was doing then. So that needs to be taken into account. We mentioned it after the United game. I think he just perhaps needs to adapt a little bit more to what's going on around him, and maybe understand that he's perhaps not being lent on in terms of goals as in a way that he has been for years, and there are so many more threats around him. And I think he'll be fine. As I said, I think he's back in the team at the weekend, and it'll be just like him to score, wouldn't it?
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.